It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today I want to come and talk to you guys about the next two cookies for recommended toppings. Today we're going to be covering Affogato cookie and Fig cookie. So, Fig cookie is a special cookie, and a lot of people kind of misunderstood what Fig cookie does. A lot of them will rate Fig cookie as a lower tier cookie. I don't think we have a full understanding of where Fig cookie belongs in team compositions yet, because we haven't really taken a full look at what Fig cookie does. So, Fig cookie, I'm just going to read the ability here. The sound of the Fig cookie's jelly horn calls upon a flock of angered fig birds that swarm at enemies, dealing damage. Surprised by this sudden attack, the enemies suffer from reduced attack. So, what this means is that the hit from Fig cookie is not going to be a single hit. It is going to be a flock or a swarm that hits the enemy. It's going to hit all the enemy, not just one. So it's like an area of damage, but it doesn't say the words area of damage. So it's a little hard to tell from the wording, but to showcase it, the single hit damage is 318.7%. Fig cookie with no toppings on is 15,000 attack. So 15,000 is pretty low, but the reason it's so low is because of that swarm of damage. And I can show that here against an opponent with just no toppings on at all, just to show you what happens. So we're gonna go grab Fig cookie. We won't raise anything else. We won't raise any treasure stats. We won't do toppings. We'll just do base stats. So 318% of 15,000 damage. We'll probably only get one attack off, maybe two at best. And then our swarm hits. And actually, if we just stop right there, we can just judge the numbers right off the bat. So 114,000 damage. If we take that number, load it into a calculator, which I'm going to do right now, 114,267, and then we take Fig cookie, and we look at that base attack times 318%. So that base attack is 15,666. Times it by 318.7%. That is only 49,927. But we did 114,000. So that means that at least out of that swarm, 3 hits landed. Now, I don't know if it's an accuracy thing as to why it wasn't more. It's really hard for me to generate the idea behind that. But what's interesting about that is that it's not just a single hit of that direct one attack against one cookie. It's multiple hits. And so that's something key to think in mind when it comes to Fig cookie. Now, in addition, the reduced attack speed. Sorry, not attack speed. Reduced attack. There's a big difference there. The reduced attack for 7 seconds is pretty huge, because if you think about it, if you pair Fig with someone like Strawberry Crepe, who gives damage resistance, or someone like Licorice, who gives defense buff, you can actually get it to a point where if you have enough buffs and enough power between all of them, you can pull the numbers down to a manageable point when it comes to battle. So Licorice is a good example, because if you raise your cookie's defense, they have high defense to begin with, and Fig cookie lowers the attack, the numbers are going to be very minute for most teams that are fighting you, unless they're dealing huge numbers, which then Strawberry Crepe would, of course, be the better option. And they're getting a percentage attack debuff. because of that. Now, Fig already has a pretty good cooldown of 15 seconds. So one thing you can run on him is the chocolate cooldown options. That is an option. But I think, and I just haven't gotten the toppings to produce better stats for Fig, but I think personally, at least my recommendation, is the attack, the damage resistance, and either the critical or the attack speed as some good substats. Cooldown is important, but if you're running Jelly Watch, you're kind of already handling most of the cooldown. If you run specifically cooldown as your main substat, and you're not focusing anything else in any of the other substats, you will have a faster Fig, but it's not going to guarantee the most damage. Where with all the critical monuments and everything coming out, if you put the critical out on Fig, then you can deal even more damage. And actually, I can show you that right now. So let's go against that same opponent. Let's take Fig Cookie, and we will go put critical toppings on Fig Cookie. And we will also raise the critical chance with the Scythe. So we're going to put these on. We've given him no extra cooldown, just some damage resistance, a little bit of attack, a little bit of attack speed, and some critical. So he has a 61% chance. And then when we add the Scythe, we are giving ourselves another 29%. So nearly 9 out of 10 times we should be hitting a crit. And actually, if we add the Bear Jelly Lollipop, we might even have more critical chance anyway. So let's add that and see what our results are. And as soon as our skill goes off, we will end it. So no extra attacks, no misunderstanding of the damage. 260,000 damage. That's off one hit with critical focus. So that's dealing nearly double the damage from criticals just from that alone. And if we run it again, just to be sure, because maybe we won't get a crit this time, we'll be super sure here. 4-second starts, basically what most people have in the arena start anyways. Alright, our ability went off. We pause. 248,000. Still pulling huge damage. If we let it run the full battle and we don't stop it, so that means attacks and skills all included under one belt, and we see what we get for that. So we'll see how long Fig will last, which will probably not be long because no healing, no huge defense metrics. Fig is mostly attack focused. So as you can see, 280,000 just at the full totality of the battle. So Fig is not a cookie that is going to be lasting when it comes to building a Fig for like damage resistance and like survivability. You can put that together, you can make that build if you want, but Fig is more a DPS unit, and Fig is not very regarded in that sense, more just overlooked. And so if you want a DPS unit, Fig is someone you could look into for that. Now, the reason Affogato Cookie is the other cookie I wanted to talk about in this same instance is because Affogato actually pairs really nicely with Fig, and that is increased debuffs. So that 25% attack debuff would actually be even higher on one specific cookie that Affogato would target. So that means that their highest attacker gets the most debuff of attack reduction for 7 seconds. But it would even extend it because an amplified debuff not only extends the percentage of the debuff, but the time too. So that's a very interesting thing to consider as well. So they pair nicely in that sense. And also, because of the massive amount of damage that can come from Affogato, in pair with Fig, could actually annihilate the highest attacker pretty nicely. You would have to pair it in some specific teams, and I can build that team and go over that in time. But I think those are a really nice pairing between the two. Now, I'm specifically recommending searing toppings for Affogato for one reason. I have tested out apple jellies with Affogato. Criticals are not affecting poison at all. So even though I had 100% chance to get a critical, it did not matter for the poison. The regular attack, yes, does a little extra damage, but it's not nearly enough to be monumental. So therefore, it's better to go searing because the searing does stack up with the poison. And so that's important if you want to get the most damage out of Affogato. In addition, the other substats I think are a good focus are the attack speed and cooldown. You can, of course, go for some damage resistance if you want Affogato to live longer. But in the sense of Affogato just pumping out massive amounts of damage, attack speed and cooldown is my biggest focus because of the animation frame increase and the cooldown to get that skill to pop again are really important for Affogato. And as you can see, 218,000 power. It's a huge amount of power, just as strong as Sorbet and his Vampire and some of the others. And so the raw power that this cookie can exhibit comes a lot from those searing toppings. Now, I do want to raise this even higher and get a few higher stats on some of these substats for Affogato to make him even better, but my personal recommendation is searing toppings for just the sheer amount of power he can output. And I can show you real quick. I've done it in a guild battle before, but I'll just show you really quick how good Affogato does just right here. And in fairness, the weakness coming from Eclair and the debuff coming from dark chocolate will of course increase the damage output, but it still is a good representation of how strong the poison is ticking, because you can see 81,000, 81,000, 81,000 just ticking right along with the dragon. And so Affogato is definitely better as a boss cookie, but still can do really good in very specific team pairings. And as you can see, 1.8 million damage. Like that's a strong point right there, just as good as Eclair, and Eclair already deals huge percentage damage. So I'm very proud of what Affogato can pull off, but searing toppings are the main reason for that. So if you guys have any opinions on either of these cookies, anything you want to interject in the comments, I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.